Shukla, Assistant Professor of Political Science at MP Sinha Science College at Muzaffarpur. It is a constituent college of B.R. Ambedkar Bihar University at Muzaffarpur. First of all, I would like to thanks to HRDC for giving me this opportunity to moderate this session and chair this session. And it is an honor for me to introduce today's resource person, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan sir. Sir is a national research professor at Ministry of Ayush, and along with that, he is also distinguished professor and former director of Interdisciplinary School of Health Sciences, University at Pune. Mr. Professor Patwardhan has a very extensive experience of research and development in the area of evidence-based Ayurveda, ethnopharmacology, drug discovery and development, and integrative medicine. Sir is also a fellow of National Academy of Science, National Academy of Medical Sciences. He is also a visiting professor at IIAS Shimla. It gives me immense pleasure, sir, to introduce you. Professor Patwardhan had also worked on different committees of Niti Aayog, National Commission, National Knowledge Commission, and Planning Commission. Sir is also invited as temporary consultant to the WHO at Geneva. He was also the director of Institute of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine and the vice chancellor of a deemed university at Pune. It is also a privileged moment to introduce scholars like sir. He is founder and the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Ayurveda and Integrated Medicine. So we have many things to describe to sir, but because of lack of time, I am not able to describe the quality and qualifications to sir. So with these remarks, I would like to welcome you, sir. And today's topic is higher education and nation building. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Amar, and thank you, HRDC team, JNU. It's a pleasure to be a part of this JNU faculty induction program. And the topic which you have selected is also very important in today's context. Higher education and nation building, it's a very, very important topic, very difficult topic also to cover in a short time. So what I will try to do is, this session is of 1.5 hour. I will try to give more time for interaction, question answer, and I will try to cover this in a way that I'll see. First, I'll raise some questions. What are we trying to build, India or Bharat? Then I will also lead to the National Education Policy 2020, its vision, purpose, attributes, pedagogy, aspects, and my reflection on it. I will talk about the current education system and in general, the monocultural dominance we are facing and the colonial impact on the whole education. I'll touch upon the legacy of Indian civilization and also discuss how the Gurukula and Kulagura transitions have happened and what they have common. I'll talk a bit about education system, current education system, role of teacher, and then I will end up with the thoughts on future education and how we can really build our country and how the universities can play a role for the Naya Bharat. So this is what broadly I have divided my talk. I will not use PowerPoint because I think that talking to you straight is better than getting trapped both of us in a PowerPoint on screen. So when we first talk about the vision, purpose, ethos, and attributes of education, I'll start with which nation are we trying to build? As we know, before starting, I must tell you that the role JNU has played is extremely important, and the legacy of JNU is something which uh, uh, is kind of a role model for other universities, how the rigor of education can be maintained and how the articulation and the students can be created in the holistic manner so that they are able to understand the situation around around them, and not only focused on some kind of job or employment. So this kind of a holistic development that what JNU has been trying to do is one of the main objective of our national education policy. So with that, so I specifically mentioned this because I personally feel that the universities like JNU can contribute substantially in the nation building. And there'll be some course correction which may be necessary, which I can see that happening during last few years. And I must acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of existing Vice Chancellor, who is also good, well known to me because he was at the UGC colleague with me, Professor Jagdish Kumar. And all the faculty members who have really created their own impact all over the world. I mean, JNU alumnus spread across all over the world make all of us proud. With that background and with that kind of a hope and expectation, I would proceed with my thoughts. I must also mention right in the beginning that what I will speak from my heart, and I will share what I feel. These are my personal views. And although I was vice chairman of the UGC at one point of a time, my views are not necessarily the views of the UGC or of the government. Purely on personal level, I'm communicating with all of you as a teacher. I continue to be a teacher, and I feel actually happy that I'm back with the students now as a distinguished professor in the university, engaged back in the research and teaching, and returning back from files to students is even more rewarding. Let me first raise again this question, and which has the connection with the theme of your talk, which you have suggested, higher education and nation building. So I remember when I started thinking about this topic, I remember our constitution and Article 1 of the constitution that states India, that is Bharat. And they say that further it shall be the union of states, etc., etc. But my question is, has the modern India after independence has really evolved as Bharat? And why I'm asking this question? Because I also remembered the 1935 Thomas Macaulay, what he stated. He stated that education was to form a class who may be interpreters between us and the millions whom we govern, a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. Now, this is such a short statement, but what a powerful statement. We may criticize him, but we must appreciate his intellect. He clearly and correctly identified our weak points. And the whole education system was designed around this so that the system can create more and more babus who can serve East India Company. That was their objective, and they fulfilled it very well. And in fact, I feel many times that today the grandchildren of Macaulay has become even more aggressive than what he also may have expected. This must change. Have we really got a freedom from this approach which Macaulay cultivated and nurtured and forced on us? This is another question I'm posing. What should be the vision, purpose, attributes, and pedagogy of the education? And when I think about this, I must thank our Prime Minister, who talked about AatmaNirbhar Bharat. He must have deliberately used this term AatmaNirbhar Bharat. Well, Bharat, the identity which we are looking to regain, and we know, and the history also tells us that education was used as a tool to create false narratives, distort history, and destroy our own culture, creativity, languages, and our own identity. Only education can counter this. If we want to really counter this false narratives, I feel education can counter these false narratives, correct our history, save our culture, creativity, and identity. Education can help us to regain AatmaVishwas and AatmaSanman, which are very, very crucial to AatmaNirbhar Bharat. I believe that without AatmaVishwas and AatmaSanman, it is very difficult to even think of AatmaNirbhar Bharat. Are we doing enough to make this happen is my question. One hope that comes very strongly in this direction is National Education Policy 2020. The vision of National Education Policy 2020, it states, that an education system deeply rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat. For the first time, this kind of an expression has boldly come in a national policy, and sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, and thereby making education a goal and global knowledge superpower. The curriculum and pedagogy of our institutions must develop a deep sense of respect towards fundamental duties of the constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and conscious awareness of our roles and responsibilities in the changing world. It also states further that it aims to instill a deep-rooted pride in being Bharatiya or in being Indian, not only in thoughts, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. What a jaw-dropping vision, But to meet this vision, just writing this vision is not sufficient. The NEP 2020, in my opinion, deserves a priority, not only through webinars, because we have seen during last 1.5 years, hundreds and thousands of seminars and webinars have happened. But what we really need is its rapid implementation in letter and spirit to go towards the desired reforms. The NEP 2020 envisions an education system, which is really respecting our own identity and our own culture, to develop skills, values in the individual, to truly make that student into a global citizen. The vibrant, in my opinion, vibrant higher education system should be grounded in the integrated foundations of modern culture as well as the ancient Indian culture, which should empower learners for better pragmatic, economic, socio-emotional, and intellectual ethical futures for themselves, for country, for humanity, and for the global good in the harmony with sustainable development goals by embracing cutting-edge technology. So we are not talking only about creating human resource or creating employment or only creating about our own country, but Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been our message from us, and we are talking about creating global citizens. We need to clearly articulate the goals of education for each of our educational programs, be it primary, secondary, higher education, undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, in a seamless manner. It has to flow in a seamless manner, right from the primary education to the doctoral education. And we need to translate these goals, what we talked about or what NEP 2020 has envisioned, into a definitive curricula, which includes syllabi, teaching learning materials, classroom pedagogies, assessment methodology, and education policies. The purpose of education also has been stated very well by NEP 2020, but I will not go in that detail because NEP 2020 has been talked much about. But in addition to the purpose of education stated by the National Education Policy, I feel that enlightenment and empowerment also must be considered as important goals of education. Enlightenment can help us to create thinking and sensitive citizens of the society, and empowerment may provide means of an educated individual to earn living for an individual or to contribute to the economy of our country. I feel that currently in India, the aspect of empowerment has overpowered the issue of enlightenment. We have to keep that balance very carefully. I will come now to the purpose of education. We may view the ultimate purpose of education from preschool to doctoral programs as this multi-dimensional and well-being in the individual, society, nation, humanity, and the planet. To accomplish this purpose, we need a radically new form of education that paves the way to succeeding generations to achieve what we have dreamt about. What kind of flagship education will guide our students to travel in this direction? What will help them to make Naya Bharat not only for global hub of research, knowledge, intelligence, innovation, but also the world leader to help humanity to overcome its problems, its iniquity, absence of safety, hunger, poverty, intolerance, hatred, cruelty, and greed, transmuting in our nation as well as in different nations throughout the world. So these are all important components of our own education system. The ethos of education, the intelligence and well-being oriented liberal education, I think is more important. I'll repeat again, the intelligence and well-being oriented liberal education, I would prefer more as against economy oriented formal education. The economic advancement in an individual, corporate, and nation, or the future nourishing or flourishing of the leader, learner, economy, nation, and global good. All these are important. The liberal education is not simply to prepare one's first job, but also for preparing his or her second job, third job, and beyond, because the job markets are dynamically changing. So we cannot stop at one particular job and become myopic in training our students. The current approach is focused on campus placement-based salary package-driven education. This is what we are experiencing, which could be detrimental to the basic ethos of education. That's what I really feel. That's my personal view. And when I talk about this, I cannot forget what Mahatma Gandhi said, or what even for that matter Vivekananda said, on education. And I'll just read their quotes. Mahatma Gandhi said that the real difficulty is that people have no idea what education truly is. And he is very right, And he also states that education which does not mold character is absolutely worthless. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. And Vivekananda said, the education is the manifestation of the perfection already in person. And the nation is advanced in the proportion to education and intelligence spread among the masses. This is what Swami Vivekananda states about. So you will find that there is a resonance of thoughts in these thought leaders. And with this background, let me talk about elements of education objectives. I would consider objectives of education in 4 baskets. The first and important one is academic. An academic objective of education includes intellectual strength, general knowledge, scientific temper, self-reliance, interdisciplinary exposure, aptitude, independent thinking capability, reasoning ability, habit of learning. All this becomes part of the academic basket. But the second basket is equally important, which is moral and spiritual values, emotional maturity, ethical values, simple living, selfless service, humility, truthfulness, dignity of labor, shrama, pratishtha, what Mahatma Gandhi talked about, is also important. The high moral character, he also talked about that, that extremely important, this basket. Then comes the third basket, which is also important, which is social sensitivity, the national culture and heritage, tolerance for diversity, national integration, understanding rural life, classless, casteless society, political system, economic system, social forces and needs, civic sense, respect for rights, duties, discharge of obligations, high moral character. All this comes in social sensitivity. Simple sensitivities, creating in the minds of students is extremely important objective, or should be an extremely important objective of this education. And whatever we do should be of a quality. And therefore, the fourth basket, which I'm talking about, cuts across all these educational objectives, be it academic, moral, spiritual, or social and sensitive. Now, attributes of educatedness and educated person to me. What an educated person should have, they should have independent learning, reading and communication ability, information and understanding, intellectual capacity, critical thinking, inquiry and integration, the social and emotional component, attitudes and habits of mind, citizenry, appreciation of beauty and aesthetic. All these are important components if we are talking about educated person. Be that person may be BA, BSc, BCom, BE, MBBS or whatever. Every educated person must have these basic attributes of educatedness. Are we giving these educatedness to our students? This is another question. Second part of my talk, which is about the glorious past of our own country. I feel that when I started with the our first article of the Constitution, India, that is Bharat, I feel that today we are really facing dementia of identity. And somehow we have been given this gift. I would not say gift is not the correct word, but whatever the legacy, the legacy also is not the correct word, but still I will use that. The colonial Raj or British Raj left to us by giving different names to one country. I don't know any other country which has these kinds of duality in names. Our name is Bharat, but we named as India, and we never evolved satisfactorily as Bharat. The biased and narrow narrative about the idea of India, which was born in 1957, we were not born in 1947. We may have got liberated, we may got freedom in 1947, but we were not born in 1947. And the moment we talk about, look at the dominance of English, it is so powerful that many educational institutes established even during the or through the nationalist movement had to fall in line with the British model. In the process, the damage which we have done to our own languages and Sanskrit is phenomenal. The primary objective of university education shifted from scholarship, knowledge generation, and innovation to assembly line production of graduates who could serve in colonial establishments more as a bandwagon of clerks and babus. And unfortunately, even after independence, we have not done much to change this assembly line production of our graduates. We are not manufacturing cars. We are cultivating, nurturing our own young generation. Are we doing the job rightly? This is the question as teachers we should ask ourselves. So I feel that we need to transit from the Gurukula tradition and Kulaguru tradition by bringing its blend, by bringing best of the best. Because earlier Gurukula tradition was there, then we came to the Kulaguru tradition. Kulaguru tradition converted our universities into Vaishyankar-led universities, and I will talk about it a little more. But what I wanted to tell you, that we need to get liberated from this monocultural dominance. Inspiration for modernity cannot be imported only from the West. It will have to be derived from the evolving traditions. The 21st century, dominated by information, knowledge-driven society, global society, disciplines like philosophy, history, archaeology, linguistics, and fine arts are getting out of this monocultural dominance in the current knowledge system, which is a good sign. It is important to keep an inquisitive, open mind to welcome new ideas, and our quest to add new knowledge must continue. We cannot get frozen as fossils. Our quest for new knowledge and walking ahead with science and technology of this generation is extremely important. So we may have studied, I have studied in my school, for example, Pluto, Galileo, Hippocrates, Newton, Archimedes, Darwin. I hardly studied Panini, Charaka, Sushruta, Kautilya, Aryabhatta, Varamira, Nagarjuna, Bhaskaracharya. We have not, I have not studied in my own school, or if at all I may have studied some of them, it was so insignificant, but we should not become dogmatic. When I'm telling you that we must get liberated from monocultural dominance, which is essentially coming from West or has come from West, I also must warn that we should not become dogmatic by taking a stand that we know everything. This we must avoid: self-pride and past glory syndrome. I will repeat this. We must avoid the self-pride and past glory syndrome, and we should not really get trapped into. But at the same time, I will also tell you that we should think about what should be the language of education. I come from Maharashtra. Marathi is my mother tongue. I still feel confident and more comfortable when I read Marathi literature. When I read Marathi newspaper, I am more comfortable, that. So education in mother tongue definitely is advisable, and that's what National Education Policy 2020 has recommended. I must congratulate my mentor, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who, and all the colleagues, who have conceptualized very, very bold future looking policy for us. In that they have very, very emphatically talked about importance of education in mother tongue. Monocultural, monolingual domination in education we must avoid, and we must promote regional languages. As I like Marathi, I also like Punjabi. I also like Bengali, which is such a sweet language. I also like Tamil. I also like Karnataka, Kannada. I also like several languages. I have several friends in several countries, and this is the beauty of our country. So promoting regional languages is equally important. Building bridges between languages for knowledge sharing. It is so important. Language becomes a tool or way and means for experiences, culture, sharing experiences from each other. The evolving Indian tradition excels in metaphysics, as also in science, mathematics, astronomy, pharmacology, numerical, geometry, algebra, trigonometry, and medical science, and we should be definitely proud about it. There is no question about it. Our knowledge systems have been evolving legacy from Vedic, Buddhist, Jaina, and hundreds of local knowledge traditions. Until the advent of foreign invaders, Indian civilization or Bharatiya Gyan Parampara was a center of learning in several branches of knowledge, and scholars from all over the world, especially Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Europe, have been visiting us. Origin of various branches of mathematics, science, art, philosophy attributed to this civilization is absolutely and truly remarkable. Our own scholarship aspired to know everything that mind can comprehend, from the atom to universe, is also jaw-dropping. So the glimpses of Indian or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara in scientific disciplines, we must remember, and we must be taught that as our own history. The ancient Indian universities, sometimes during 600 BCE, the ashram system gradually evolved in several multidisciplinary universities, including Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Mithila, Vallabhi, Pushpagiri, and so many, over 15 ancient universities existed in the period of 6th century to 1200. And during this period, people may think about or talk about evolution of universities, and people may think that idea of university is evolved in West. And the earlier universities in Bologna or old universities like Oxford and Cambridge, they are excellent universities, no doubt. But the first multinational or multi-cultural and multilingual universities existed in our own country. Takshashila is known to be oldest center of learning, best known because of his alumni, like Kautilya, Panini, Charaka, Vishnu Sharma, Jivaka. These were all alumni of Takshashila. Nalanda was established. These years also I am not able to really definitely tell, which years they were, because our history, we don't get correct information. But Nalanda remained center of excellence until it was destroyed in the 12th century. This was our heritage, and we should not really forget that. In fact, we should learn from that to build the Naya Bharat. The inquisitive open mind, is very important. When we talk about education in university, our university systems need to be critically review, revise, regain, and promote the sources of knowledge, art, skills, and they should be actually integral part of our education system. The Indian knowledge systems are rich sources of evolving knowledge. I remember when I first learned about this, I was amazed, In Nalanda and Takshashila, what they used to teach? 14 vidyas, different vidyas, and 64 different kalas. If you go through the list of 64 kalas, I was amazed when I looked at them, Many of these kalas have actually extinct, Many of them may not be relevant today, but learning from them and building on them for future, many kalas can be reformed into what are more contemporary forms of them. But again, I will repeat that while I am telling you that this Chauda Vidya Chaushat Kala should become part of our own Indian universities, education and pedagogy, I will again repeat that we should not take a stand that we know everything, and we must avoid the self-pride past glory syndrome. It is important to keep an inquisitive mind to welcome new ideas and also to continue our quest to add new knowledge. It must continue. The Indian knowledge system, if you want, I will not speak much about it, but the 6 darshanas, so profound. Sankhya and Yoga, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, the Vedanta, Purva and Uttar Mimamsa, which is component of Vedanta. But our traditions have equally respected the other thoughts also. So Vedanta is talking other language. When Charvaka started talking another language, Charvaka was equally respected. Jaina and Buddha tradition as darshanas are equally respected, and this is the beauty of our knowledge systems, and this is the beauty, or this is the legacy of our own heritage. Next part, I will talk about reimagining Indian university system. The idea of university, we all talk about universities as knowledge temples, where ideas, innovation, and skills are nurtured. Universities are seats of scholarship, statesmanships, universal brotherhood, and they award academic degrees in various disciplines, that's fine. But today our focus has gone merely on academic degrees. The universities are not to be reduced to degree factories, merely focused on jobs and career. We will be doing injustice to the education if we convert our universities in degree or diploma mills. The university education must be holistic to inculcate knowledge and skills necessary to shape the individual personality, develop mental capacities, and universal values in addition to making career. Making career is extremely important, but not at the cost of all other attributes. University education will have to consciously innovate to address the changing needs of humanity, civil society, and not just markets. Today, our universities' focus, unfortunately, is more on markets. Markets are important, but universities' purpose is different. The characteristics of earlier universities, if we talk about our own universities like Nalanda and Takshashila, the Gurukula system was in existence at that time. So it was a distributed system. Nalanda and Takshashila may have been one major center, but the system was distributed in different gurukulas, where master discipline relationship or guru shishya relationship was the core. Spontaneous life oriented learning, learning by doing. If you look at Upanishads, the learning of doing message is very, very clear. Personality and individual potential, philosophy and our own lineage, Shastra based Adhyasana was part of it. The ethical growth, compassion, the driving force, yogic calmness was also taught in the Gurukul. The containment, and the curiosity and creativity were attributes of Gurukula system. Now, when we look at Kulaguru system, when we were given this in the gift by the Britishers, when the first universities were started in Mumbai and Chennai and Kolkata, these universities, the Vice Chancellor system came in. I was Vice Chancellor at one time. So I'm not really criticizing the Vice Chancellor system. It is a good system, but it is about teacher and student becomes requisite in the today's university system. It is a structured teaching syllabus system. We are having giving encouragement to some kind of a rote learning. There is a uniform and mass education. We are teaching thousands together. There is a excellent technical expertise that has come in this system. Science-based Adhyapana has become another important component of Kulaguru system, which is very good. The professional excellence which is followed, the commercial success, the competitive stress which is coming out, the key motivation in the university system has unfortunately become a degree and employment. But there are good systems in Kulaguru or current education system as well, and we should bring best from both together for building future. Now, how to make students become educated? Can we establish contemporary Gurukula University? Yes, and I'm happy that some experiments in this direction are already going on. And a new kind of a universities are coming up, and some old universities are also getting reformed to go in or to move in this direction. And I hope and I trust that JNU can form or can take a lead role in this kind of initiative, in which the new universities should abandon distinctions like physics versus chemistry or natural sciences versus social sciences. It should organize entire curriculum around questions to investigate. We must ask what we want to investigate instead of departments and schools. Devote the first year to contemporary foundation courses on transdisciplinary inquiry and transdisciplinary understanding. The first year, be it your any branch, and devote second year onwards to compulsory foundation courses on multidisciplinary questions. For example, who are we as members of the human species? How did the physical, biological, and cultural worlds evolve to be where they are now? How do we minimize the most serious problem that confront the world today? It may be violence, it may be terrorism, it may be poverty, it may be inequity, or several, and devote the remaining years for preparation for specializations at the master's level. So if you want to become chemist, give the 2 years entirely for the state of the art in these disciplines, be physics, chemistry, engineering, or whatever. So this should be the focus, in my opinion. And the university expected, to shift our focus from teaching to learning, because learning is flexible, playful, active, voluntary, multi-directional, dialogue-driven, and interactive. This is what learning is. I believe more in learning. Today also, I must tell you very frankly, today also, I learn every day from my own students. In our current systems, we have undermined the power of students to learn. We have undermined that. We have monopolized teaching. Teachers have started thinking like it is our right to teach and nobody else can do it. But society is a great teacher. Home is a great teacher, but we don't consider that at all in process of learning. The teaching has become extremely structured, serious, passive, forceful, unidirectional, monologue driven, and authoritative. As a teacher, I take that authority and tell students that listen to me and what I'm telling you. So what we are giving today, that is my last part of my talk. I'm now going to talk about pedagogy and teachers. The best pedagogy, I have studied Bloom's taxonomy as well. But the pedagogy recommended by Bloom is no doubt is excellent. Which starts from remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating, and all. But our own pedagogy practiced at our Gurukula system or at Nalanda Takshashila has only 4 levels, and 4 levels are so profound that they encompass Bloom's taxonomy. And they are Adidhi, Bodha, Acharana, and Pracharana. Adidhi is about information and theory, gathering information and learning theory. This can be attempted by students to self-study modules. I feel in future, teachers may have limited role or no role in Adidhi because MOOCs can do this job much better than physically doing that in the classroom and making students for that's what students talk about, that please don't bore us inside the classroom by giving us PowerPoints lectures, because today's students are much more intelligent and smarter than us to gather information, So Adidhi, I think we should leave it to students. We can guide them if required, but they will be able to gather that information much better than us. Next component is important, Bodha. Understanding and analysis. Information is not enough, understanding that information, analyzing it, gaining knowledge, deeper awareness, understanding principles, theory, comprehension, and analysis based on available information. This can be attempted on students also on their own, but we as teachers may need to assist them, and this assistance can happen partly through MOOCs and partly through direct interactions, This may require social robots which are coming, and where teachers' role can become mentors. The third component is Acharana, that is performance and practice. Using acquired knowledge, testing principles, experimenting and practicing, this can involve intense interaction between students and teachers. So here, teachers cannot be replaced. And I must tell you that whatever technology may happen, nobody can replace teachers. Teachers are irreplaceable, So here in Acharana, role of teachers is extensive. Pracharana, propagation and preaching is the final stage where internship, apprenticeship, community-based learning, seminars and presentations come in. All this become part of our teaching environment, and not just what we teach inside the classroom. So this, when we talk about this, in case of teachers, are we really prepared for this? I feel that today's teachers, most of us are Adhyapaka, who are giving information, But as I told you, this can be outsourced to MOOCs. We must rise to become Upadhyaya. Upadhyaya gives information, in addition to information, gives knowledge also. We must try to rise above to become Acharya, who can give skills as well. We should rise further above, try to become Pandits, who can give insights as well. We should try to rise further above to become Drashta, which is not easy, who can give vision. And we should finally try to become a Guru, really. We call ourselves as Guru and we celebrate ourselves on Guru Purnima and also on Teachers' Day. But Guru is somebody who will awaken the wisdom, who will shake up the students, and who will really help them to rediscover themselves, liberate them. That's what the Guru should be, and we should all try to become that. I feel that blended pedagogy is going to be the future. Education in the future will be technology enabled, blended, more flexible, modular, collaborative, cross-institutional, cross-cultural, lifelong, and more emphasis on emotional quotient and cultural quotient in addition to the IQ or intelligence quotient. It should be more creativity, there should be more creativity, cognitive ability, critical thinking, passion, and compassion, And the new education will have to meet the needs of industry on one side, economy, development, as well as needs of people, where convergence of machines and human beings and future teachers, I believe, will be a collaboration between robots and teachers, and our pedagogy will be delivered by cobots, collaborative robots, collaboration between teachers. And I will not explain this point more, but if there are questions comes in, we have seen the first, second, and third generation, fourth generation, and fifth generation actually, which is coming up in the education, and right from the postal courses to now the new education resources, what we have. I remember Thomas Edison, who in 1923 said, and I quote, "It is my firm conviction that a large part of education is coming in coming generations will not be by books, but by moving pictures." Thomas Edison, 1923. Look at the visionaries. These are the real drashtas, he envisioned what will happen in the future. I think we need to move to student-centric education. Student-centric education should be multidisciplinary, problem-based learning, flipped classroom model-based, embedded internship should be part of it. It should have multiple entry, multiple exit. It should be flexible. Students should have freedom to choose, learn from anywhere. And to meet that, the academic bank of credit, which UGC has recently announced and the regulations are already declared, is very, very important. And I must congratulate UGC and the Minister of Education for releasing them even before formal announcement or formal approval of the NEP 2020. Academic Bank of Credit actually will liberate students and give them more options of learning as per their own choice. And the future education will require entirely different knowledge and skill sets to develop students. And role of teachers may change due to automation, smarter and social robot, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybernetics, and robotics. All this is going to change the future. I will not talk much about academic bank of credit, but you may know. I remember while I am talking to you, again I will quote Alvin Toffler, what he wrote in Future Shock. The literates of 21st century will not be those who do not know how to read and write, but those who do not know how to learn is very, very important. I will end by telling you that in education, today's education and skills should travel together. And I'm happy that Skill Ministry and Education Ministry are under one roof now. And earlier also we were talking about Chauda Vidya as knowledge and Chaushash Kala as skills. So knowledge and skills used to go hand in hand. So we should do this in future. Knowledge should be coupled with the skills, and the 21st century skills are going to be entirely different, which we must acknowledge, and we should not think that all these skills as teachers will be able to give them inside the classroom. We should be open. Second thing I want to tell you that in the future, education must work together with research and innovation. And to do that, research and innovation, because unless we combine research and innovation with the education cannot retain its freshness, and the future expectations will be difficult to be met with this education. While doing so, the regulators are trying to really tell, NEP also has talked about it, NEP has talked about National Research Foundation, but so much of time is being spent in the implementation. And as it is said, any policy is as good as it is implemented. We all look forward for effective and timely implementation of this. Lastly, I would warn that in the race to do more and more research, students are seen to fall prey to predatory journals. And I would really request teachers as well as students, to stay away from the compromised publication ethics and don't encourage predatory journals, and please ensure that whatever you publish is something useful for the people. And we should put people up front. And I must tell you, as a biologist, I will quote last Charles Darwin, change is the only constant. It is not the strongest, but it is the smartest or smartest species, but the most adaptable species that are resilient survive and prevail in the long run. Survival of the fittest, in short, what he used to talk about. I also remember Peter Drucker, another management guru or thought leader, which in 1998 he said, 30 years from now, the big university campuses will be the relics. Universities won't survive. It is as large as a change when we first got to see the printed book. So this is what the changes are happening. The world is changing, science, technology changing, ecosystem is changing, economy is changing, society is changing, humanity is changing. And Bharat became independent in 1947. But its history, culture, and science extends back thousands of years, much before antiquity. Learning from evolving tradition can help us to reimagine, remodel, and actually rebuild our universities to meet the requirements of Naya Bharat, for building Naya Bharat. This is as an intellectual exercise to understand the value and the contemporary relevance of our knowledge systems in the modern world. Reimagining Indian universities or building Naya Bharat does not mean discarding or replacing the existing system with the old or ancient knowledge system. It is about bringing best in the best interest of the people and the humanity for ultimate global good. With this, I thank JNU, for this kind invitation. It was a pleasure, and I was happy to see faculty members from different universities also are given opportunity, such as the one who Professor Amar made this kind of introduction in the beginning and coordinating. So it is not only JNU centric. So thank you, Professor Suchi and Professor Singh, for all this opportunity. And I will be happy to take questions. I think we have saved some time for more questions and answers. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening lecture. I am evolved and totally feeling elated and I think enlightened. I would rather hand over to Amar because he's moderating the session. Amar, please take the mic.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us a very insightful lecture and enlightening us. And sir, we have at least 40 minutes for question hour session. So first of all, I would like to say, sir, thank you for giving us a brainstorming kind of you can say method where we can get what is India and what is Bharat. And in 1947, when we got independence, that is not only the Bharat. Many people, even in scholars in higher education, they sometimes criticize they sometimes criticize India before 1947, and the people see everything in the fold of religion, especially with Hindutva. But you have given very nicely, and you have given many approaches to understand how we can enhance our educational system through current university system and a new education policy. Thank you so much, sir. Now we can get questions, and I'm just trying to read some questions, and we are requesting to answer of those questions. The question from Shweta Burma to sir. Thank you so much for this very insightful lecture. My question is on what are the possibility of delinking higher education from the immediate human capital and modernization needs to the nation state and becoming concerned with the global on promoting freedom to cultivate intellectual curiosity through education and research and more holistically for the development of higher education. Sir, can we take some more questions?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, next question from Dr. Devadatta Chatterjee, sir. When we are talking about focusing on the evolution of knowledge system of our country since ancient time, one of the severe problems we face is unavailability of sources apart from certain Buddhist and Jain sources, especially to construct the regional history. Sometimes distortion of history happens due to this problem, especially when we are talking about ancient Indian history. So when we are talking about the reconstruction, how to deal with these particular problems, what is your take on this, sir? Sir, I am going to read one more question. In today's, this is from Dr. Anatu Banerjee, Atanu Banerjee. In today's world of market-driven education, how big is the challenge to implement value-based education as mentioned in New Education Policy 2020? So, sir, we can take these questions. After that, I will read more.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Very interesting questions and very right questions you have raised. And some of you, while raising questions, have given part answers also. So that makes my job little easy, because those who have asked questions, I can see that they have also shared their reflections on these questions as well. The first question is delinking. Delinking is not necessary, means both are important. As I have mentioned, the employment and creating those skills in the students are important, while the educatedness, what I talked about, is equally important. Means, for example, how can we think that somebody who has become a graduate do not know even what Indian Constitution is? Can we call that as an educatedness? How can we say that if some students who has graduated in medicine, for example, do not know what are the contribution of Sushruta and Charaka? When we are talking about all this, we have to strike a balance. We cannot go on a trip that we know everything, and that's why we said. And many times in over enthusiasm, we do that. That we know everything. Our ancestors have invented all these gadgets, and we knew everything. We knew atom bomb. And all. See, this is not a way to move ahead. We have to strike a balance. I am saying that in our education system, some part, sizable part of our education system must go in the rounding holistically the student's personality. That's what a new education policy talked about, and not necessarily about any particular subject. The subject knowledge is important, but only subject knowledge is not sufficient. That's the differentiation I am at. And what we need to teach, for example, I'm just giving you example. I'm a biologist, So thinking like a biologist, if a student of arts is able to develop, that student doesn't require to learn actually biology. How to think like a mathematician, how to think like an engineer, This is the thinking process. We should be cutting across, The critical thinking capabilities must be cultivated. Are we doing it today? I doubt, maybe few universities like JNU are giving this kind of argumentative exposure to students, by giving them opportunity to interact with several others, But that should happen in the right direction. We want AatmaSanman Bharat, and not the Tukde Bharat. So this kind of approach, has to inculcate in education. We must debate fiercely as students, fearlessly. We must debate, But then we should really come to the consensus, which is ultimately in the interest of the society and in the interest of our own country and interest of our own people, So this should happen, this should get ingrained in our education system, which is not currently happening in that intensity. The distortion of history, another point was Jain and Buddhist history, this point was mentioned, So as an educationist, as a students or as faculty members, we should take that onus on ourselves. If we are teachers of history, we should really honestly visit back and try to really come out with the true history. This is a big work. This is not easy because making pollution is easy. I am biologist. I also work in pollution. Therefore, I can tell you, polluting something is very easy. Polluting Delhi's environment is very easy. You just increase number of vehicles and start burning fuels and fossil fuels and increase more industry. Our cities will get polluted, which they are. But cleaning up is very difficult. So we have a difficult task. That I must tell you. We have a difficult task. But again, I remember Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Karya kathin hai, isiliye karne yogya hai."
Okay, sir, can we take some next round of questions? Hello.
Hello, yes.
Sir, next question from Dr. Hare Rama Pandey. सर, किस प्रकार भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को, गुरु शिष्य परंपरा को इस तकनीकी के समय में इम्प्लीमेंट किया जा सकता है? First question. And another question from Dr. Sumit Havaldar. Sir, while you are talking about human education, how would you respond to the mushrooming of private institutions across the country, where in the name of holistic development, the major focus throughout the year is on optics, which further help in the commodification of education? Next question is, sir, from Dr. Tabrez Anis. How should we adjust the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam with the idea of nationalism? And next one is from Dr. Subhash. How to connect the ancient Indian knowledge and tradition with the modern education system, sir? Kindly enlighten us these questions, sir.
Okay, I am not able to remember all the questions now, but I talked about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and this question is also very good. How do you see? They are not separate things, because the concept of nationalism, the moment we become national, we become inclusive. Our horizons expand, and we cannot exist in isolation. We have to be part, and we have to be helping each other. That's the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and the market-driven part, what you are talking about, commodification of education, this is a real worry. I am equally worried what you have expressed, that this commodification of education is not good for our country. The privatization of education may be necessary because only government may not be able to put a bill on higher education. But as far as quality is concerned, there should be no differentiation between public or private, because there are good and bad in both the sectors. There are good public universities and there are not so good public universities also. There are good private universities and there are not so good private universities also. So this is something which as a community, we must ensure that converting our existing education system, how to move ahead by taking the advantage of NEP 2020, which is a good opportunity for us to make these changes, and to go towards nation building. NEP is a great opportunity for us. And if we are able to, because NEP also has talked about these questions, and the answers to your questions are fairly well described in NEP. So I will not really reiterate them. Please refer to this document. I think Dr. Kasturirangan and team has done a great job in this. Thank you.
Okay, sir. एक क्वेश्चन है डॉक्टर हरिराम पांडे से कि 64 कलाएं कौन कौन सी हैं, सर? And question Can we discuss one by one, sir, or I can read? Can I read a few more?
No, we'll go by one because I don't recall all the questions, you know. तो
That's
पांडे जी का क्वेश्चन है ये 64 कला के बारे में. पांडे जी, मैंने भी पहले ये 64 कला के बारे में सुना. मैं तो विज्ञान से आता हूँ, तो मुझे इसके बारे में इतना पता नहीं था. लेकिन 14 विद्या और 64 कला के बारे में जब भी मैंने सुना ना, तभी मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया. And I was amazed to see the richness and vastness of our knowledge system. You know. Just to give you some examples, you know, the 64 kala are divided into various disciplines of kalas. You know, for example, visual and performing kala. You know, these are Geet, Vadya kala, Veena kala, then Natya kala, Nrutya kala, then this is Chitra kala. All these are related to visual and performing art. You know, Bharatnatyam is living example of that, or Kathak, Bharatnatyam, or Kuchipudi. They are living example. Odishi. These are living examples of this. Then there is other part is cognitive and design skills, and these are amazing. Many of these skills I have not met anyone who can tell me about this. You know, have you heard of a term Indrajal? Indrajal was one of the best skills in our system, you know. Indrajal, then Hastalaghav, you know, then Suchi Karma, then Sutra Karma, then there are several. I'm not able to really give you all the examples, but I suggest and recommend you to visit my article in published by AIU, Association of Indian Universities, in which I have talked about reimagining Indian universities towards from glorious past to future. You know, in that I have given actually list of these kalas. There are various technical kalas or artisan, you know, in which there could be something like on one side art of perfumery. There used to be art perfumery also, or Vastu Vidya. Vastu Vidya is not what you see as a pseudoscience. You know, Vastu Vidya is a real science. People have been practicing, not that what today people may be doing or advocating necessarily. Similar to that is, this Dhatu Vidya, metallurgy. You know, you see in Delhi, you go to this Qutub Minar, whatever is the true name of that, you know, just next to that is the metal pole standing there, you know, thousands of years ago. That pole, it doesn't catch rust, you know, it is a very, very special amalgam. How they must have done it. Just think of it. You must remember that one of the oldest dam exists in India, oldest dam in the world exists in India, Tamil Nadu. Just find out how they must have built that kind of a dam 2000 years ago. So we had those vidyas, you know, those vidyas and those kalas were really destroyed in the process of all those invasions, you know, and we need to regain that and combine them with today's science and knowledge to take them ahead. We cannot use the same level of knowledge what used to be there 2000 years ago, but that way in which they thought is even important today. Then there is beauty and hospitality skills. There is a whole set of beauty and hospitality skills, you know. Then in that they have Nepathya yoga, you know, they have Shayana Rachana, how to really have your own, design your own bedroom, or there are then many miscellaneous skills they have, you know, in which Dyuta Vidya also they have talked about, or many other types of miscellaneous Vidya they really talk about, such as मेष कुकुट lavanya yuddha vidhi. These terms also, anybody who will understand these terms, it is very difficult to get those kinds of people also today. Then means it doesn't come to my mind immediately, but it's very difficult to know such kala, but I would really advise you, all of you, not only Pandey ji aapne prashna pucha hai, lekin all of you, to just visit that, just to see what kind of diversity and richness of knowledge our culture, our history has. Just don't ridicule them. I'm Ayurveda person, I can tell you from my experience. I look at Ayurveda as a source of new knowledge. And my work as a biologist or as a biochemist, I looked Ayurvedic concept of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and I hypothesized that Vata, Pitta, Kapha has genetic connotation. And then we studied this, using various different gene polymorphism studies, and then whole genome scan, and we could show that there are certain gene signatures for each of these Vata, Pitta and Kapha, which is first time, solid evidence from modern science has come in support of traditional knowledge systems. So these are not just mere weird concepts, Vata, Pitta, Kapha or Panchamabhuta or Agni, or all these are profound concepts. And Dr. Valiathan actually has come out with a new concept called Ayurvedic biology, and I'm happy that JNU has started a course on Ayurvedic biology. These are all profound concepts. My request to all of you, and especially to JNU, which is strong in multiple disciplines, please look at Sanskrit as a source of new knowledge. It is a source of new knowledge, new ideas. If we are able to develop new ideas based on our own knowledge, then we can get scientific leadership in the world. Today, in terms of scientific leadership, we are lagging behind. So these kinds of ideas will take us to scientific leadership, and innovative research may happen based on our own ideas. We should not just stick to our ideas and should take a stand. No, Ayurveda, Charak has said whatever thousands of years ago, we will not think and we will go only by what Charak says. That will be a pragmatic approach. That we should not take. And it is true to all other branches of knowledge, all other Kala and all other Vidya. I just gave you example of Ayurveda because I work on it. But you will find whatever is your discipline, something in that discipline related to our own ancient knowledge systems or traditional knowledge systems. Please look at it curiously. You will find a lot of new knowledge and lot of new ideas from that. Thank you. Sorry, it was very long and it was also divergent in many areas, but I thought that it was necessary to give the full perspective.
Thank you so much, sir, for describing it. Next question is from Kumar Manoj. New Education Policy 2020 promotes education in regional and local languages. So why the UGC itself does not promote scientific journals of regional languages? For example, how would I publish my botany research in Hindi if there is no such journals in UGC care list? सर ये सवाल है कुमार मनोज जी का.
या कुमार मनोज जी, यूजीसी केयर लिस्ट में जर्नल आएगा जब भी जर्नल चालू होगा और अच्छी तरह से जर्नल वो परफॉर्म करेगा, तभी वो यूजी. तो इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस में ज्यादा से ज्यादा जर्नल होने चाहिए, ये हमारी भी मांग है, और हम लोग नहीं देख पाते हैं वो जर्नल. और यूजीसी का पॉलिसी ऐसा है, अभी तो मैं यूजीसी में नहीं हूं तो मैं नहीं बोल सकता, लेकिन यूजीसी का पॉलिसी ऐसा है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा इंडियन लैंग्वेज के जर्नल्स को एनकरेज करना, लेकिन वो जर्नल्स को वो क्वालिटी लेवल पे आना पड़ेगा. Just because you are publishing Indian language journals, you cannot say that it should come in the list of UGC care list. But we are definitely giving more emphasis and more consideration, I would say, for the journals published in Indian languages.
Thank you, sir. Sir, next question है Z Anwar का. सर का सवाल है कि सर आपने कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट की बात की, तो क्या इंग्लिश को भारत में एडॉप्ट करना और मीडियम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन बनाना कॉलोनियल माइंड की मिसाल है या नहीं? सर इनका
इंग्लिश से मैंने वो बात मैंने जब भी कही तभी मैंने उसमें जिसको हम लोग मैंने उसमें उसी समय मैंने बात की थी कि मैं इंग्लिश को रिप्लेस करने की बात नहीं कर रहा।
जी
इंग्लिश तो ग्लोबल लैंग्वेज बन चुकी है अभी, उसको तो हम लोग पीछे नहीं जा सकते। हम लोग कल नहीं बोल सकते कि अभी कल से सब हम हिंदी में सीखेंगे। ये जापानीज कर सकते हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने इसके इम्पैक्ट में वो नहीं आए, वो कॉलोनी नहीं थे। या फिर जर्मन्स कर सकते हैं क्योंकि वो कॉलोनी नहीं थे, लेकिन हम लोग तो थे ना, तो हमने वो अडॉप्ट किया है। तो इंग्लिश अच्छा है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग इंग्लिश इज बैड, इंग्लिश इज नीडेड ऑल्सो। आवर एजुकेशन शुड कंटिन्यू टू बी इन इंग्लिश। लेकिन अभी आपने देखा रहेगा नए एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की वजह से आप इंजीनियरिंग का कोर्स भी आपकी भाषा में कर सकते हैं। और अभी टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से ये जो भाषा में दरारें थी ना, वो दरारें अभी कम हो गई है। क्योंकि आप देखो गूगल ट्रांसलेट पे जाओ, इंग्लिश पे आप डालो कोई भी चीज उसमें, तो एक सेकंड में आपको जो लैंग्वेज में चाहिए वो लैंग्वेज में आ सकती है। तो ये जो बैरियर्स थी लैंग्वेज के बारे में पहले, वो आज नहीं है। तो अभी मातृभाषा में शिक्षा लेना भी संभव है और इंग्लिश को रिप्लेस करने की कोई भी जरूरत नहीं है।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम खुशबू शुक्ला। Today in India, many higher educational institutes are only granting degrees. They do not even know about nation building. So how big this problem is in the path of nation building? Is nation building possible on the strength of some genuine higher educational institutes like JNU?
नो, बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न है और आपने उत्तर दिया है उसमें कि जेएनयू जैसे संस्था ने इसमें आगे आके रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी लेनी चाहिए और एक बेंचमार्क भी तैयार करना चाहिए। ये ऐसा कर सकते हैं, मैं ये ऐसा मानता हूं। अभी मैं यूजीसी में नहीं हूं, इसलिए मैं मेरा कहना ज्यादा स्पष्ट कर सकता हूं। मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि 1-1 हजार करोड़ की इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ इमिनेंस देने से अगर आप 10 इंस्टीट्यूट ऐसी बना सकते हो कि जिसमें भारतीय विचारधारा पे शिक्षा आधुनिक विज्ञान और तंत्रज्ञान के साथ में दी जाती है, तो वो ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण हमें रहेगा। तो जेएनयू इसकी शुरुआत करे, 10 या 20 इमीडिएटली ज्वाइन हो जाएंगे। बहुत सारे विश्वविद्यालय ऐसे हैं कि जिन्हें इस रास्ते पे जाना है, तो एक ऐसे विश्वविद्यालयों का एक कंसोर्शियम बनाते हैं और चालू करते हैं ना। शुरू तो करना पड़ेगा, जैसे लाओ त्से ने बोला है, पहला स्टेप तो लेना पड़ेगा। 1000 मील का जर्नी अगर आपको लेना है तो ये आप भी ज्वाइन हो जाइए, आप खुद लीड लीजिए इसमें। आपके विश्वविद्यालय और जेएनयू सुची जी के साथ में ज्वाइन हो जाइए और शुरू कीजिए, मैं हूँ आपके साथ में।
जी सर बिल्कुल, धन्यवाद सर।
थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर रिस्पॉन्डिंग दिस क्वेश्चन। अगला प्रश्न है सर सहेली बोस का। इन दिस 21st century, both developed and developing nations are faced with the demands of a rapidly changing and more globally competitive world due to major forces driving this change in the world of work. After COVID-19, there has to be more thrust on developing global citizens, which drives the growth journey of the country. How can new education policy 2020 address this issue?
Yeah, no, if you are talking about global citizen making, I talked about it, but I will again explain. 21st century skills are entirely different. And if we want to really make a global citizen, that global citizen must also know what is the citizenry, what is the citizenship in our own country, what are our own responsibilities towards our own country. This is extremely important, and that every student, irrespective of your branch, must know. Now, in addition, the disciplinary knowledge is also important. Again, I will repeat again and again, this term will come, but it is important, therefore I am repeating. Critical thinking ability, problem solving ability, analytical reasoning, research related skills, cooperation and teamwork, working with people is very important. Scientific reasoning, reflective thinking, information and digital literacy. We can't now stay away from the digital literacy. Self-directed learning. We cannot outsource our learning methodology to teachers. Teachers are there to help us, but as students, we should learn on our own also. And we should develop multicultural competence. We should respect all the cultures. And all this, when we will acquire, then we may not restrict ourselves. And therefore, today also, those students who develop these skills on their own, become global citizens. They go outside and build their careers and become the citizens of those countries, but still remain at heart Bharatiya. So this is the essence of becoming global citizen. You can be a global citizen remaining in Bharat, or you can become a global citizen by going out of Bharat and serving for the larger cause of the humanity. But for that, you require to have these kinds of basic skills.
Thank you, sir. We have 10 minutes more. Our next question is from Dr. Rajiv Kumar. What should have been done at the policy making level to shift the focus from Indic to Bharatiya perspective is being covered under the new education policy 2020. But are we really prepared as teachers to shift our academic thought process towards the same? As a teacher, how should we evolve our thought process towards attaining the goal? तो इसमें तो सर आपने आंसर दे दिया है काफी कुछ, लेकिन फिर भी अगर आप एक्सप्लेन करना चाहें तो अदरवाइज
मैं खाली इतना ही बोलूंगा कि टीचर्स पे ये बहुत बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. मैं तो इतना ही कहूंगा कि ये अगर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हमें करना है तो कौन करेगा? हमें ही करना पड़ेगा ना. एक तो मैं आपको बताता हूं कि जो भी एजुकेशन सिस्टम में हमारे रीजन कोई भी हो, इसमें वैचारिक मतभेद हो सकते हैं. मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट है, कोई अलग है तो कोई अलग बोलेगा, उसमें दो राय हो सकती है. लेकिन आज हमारे देश की जो शिक्षा है वो हमारे देश के लोगों के लिए कितनी उपयुक्त है, इसका प्रश्न अगर हम लोग पूछते हैं और हम लोग अगर इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है हमें अपने आप आंसर इसमें मिल जाएगा. और टीचर्स, ये जो हुआ है वो टीचर्स के कारण नहीं हुआ है. ये जो हमारी सिस्टम जो बदली है ना, वो कारण कोई भी हो, कॉलोनियल हो या और कोई अलग कारण हो, वो टीचर के कारण ये सिस्टम नहीं खराब हुआ है. लेकिन ये सिस्टम को अगर कोई ठीक कर सकता है तो मैं मानता हूँ वो टीचर ही इसको ठीक कर सकता है. इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ कि टीचर्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ज्यादा है और हमें इसमें लीड लेना चाहिए, और ना कि कोई हमें आके बताए. हम लोगों को खुद आगे चलकर हमें जो सही लगता है वो करने की शुरुआत करनी चाहिए.
Thank you so much, sir. We can take 2-3 more questions. Sir, one question from Dharamveer. Even after 70 years, education in India is considered as way only to get the white collar job. How we can change that mentality?
Yeah, again, I have touched upon this point, but I had not mentioned the term white collar. So when we talk about white collar, it is typically BA, BSc, BCom kind of a degree, which makes you degree holder or a graduate, but may not necessarily give you the opportunity or skill sets to become either entrepreneur or to get job or become employed somewhere else. So this is a typical white collar job. To me, such degrees are hollow degrees. So we just get satisfied in our mind that we have become graduate, but when we look at ourselves, what we have earned or what we have gained are really spoiling our country. That's what I feel. And therefore, the GER, we talk about increasing GER, gross enrollment ratio. I think gross enrollment ratio will increase, but it should not increase by increasing hollow degrees. Because if you increase GER and if your degrees remain, very, very of poor quality, it is going to be a great injustice. And that's what has been happening today. And students can vouch for it, teachers can vouch for it, that many of our degrees have hardly any relevance to what is happening in the society today, or what is the requirements of the industry today. So at the UGC, we have taken, not we, meaning I'm not there, but I can tell you that UGC had taken the stand to come out with a, what we call it as embedded internship program, wherein BA, BSc, BCom students can spend 1 year outside the university, right in the industry or any other commercial setup, to get a first-hand knowledge. This is very important. As I said, teachers should give away monopoly to teach. So that 1 year, that student may not be inside your campus, may not be under the direct supervision of the teacher, but that student is getting first-hand knowledge and experience and skill from outside of the university. So we should welcome that. So this blue collar and white collar bridging is extremely important. Why? I can tell you that I feel that we have given undue status to our degrees, undue status. For example, I'll give you a farmer's son or daughter becomes a graduate, BA in English, with a poor quality of education, so poor, and I've seen such students that they are not able to even communicate in English or write in English, even after becoming graduate in English. Now they have a pseudo feeling in their mind that I have become a graduate now, so they will not help even their farmer father. They will be feeling shy to go on the farm to work, or if their father is carpenter, they will feel shy to become carpenter. So this has created a big problem in India. By giving pseudo prestige to these hollow degrees, we have actually created a major negative impact on Indian cultures. We are losing many artisans generations. Their generations have gone in mainstream education. Who is going to continue that? Who is going to continue the legacy of those weavers? Who is going to continue the legacy of those artisans, those kumars, those chamars, or those so skilled? It has to, and for that to happen, we must give equal respect to all those skilled communities. If somebody is an excellent carpenter, if somebody is an excellent leather worker, if somebody is excellent shoemaker, if somebody is excellent driver, we should give them equal status. We should not, I feel that a person who can make flawless shoe, or a person who can drive me skillfully in the busy and risky roads of Delhi, Bangalore, or Mumbai, or Pune, that person is much better than a person who has graduated with hollow degree. That person must be given that kind of a status. So I hope that in future, now that education and skill ministries have come together, and now that the National Bank of Academic Bank of Credit has come in force, the skill components credits also will be able to be acquired, and those who are in the skill will be able to acquire main skill, main education components, so that education and skill, typically blue collar is denoted to skill. Why we should consider that a person passing out from ITI is of low grade? No, he is working on the let's go so skillfully. He should be treated on par as far as status is concerned with a person coming of IIT. IIT person is much advanced, that's fine. Intellectually also much more, or knowledge-wise also much better. But both are required. Skills are, can IIT engineer efficiently sit on the lathe machine and compete with that person from ITI? No, but both are important. So we should give both equal importance. A good tailor also should be given that kind of a status. A good kumar, who is making those earthen pots so skillfully, we should give them status. In India, if we start giving status and prestige to the skills, I think this whole system will change.
Thank you so much, sir. क्योंकि टाइम बिल्कुल खत्म हो चुका है, 1 बजने वाले हैं, 2 मिनट और बचे हैं इसमें सर। तो क्वेश्चन बहुत सारे हैं, देयर आर मेनी क्वेश्चंस, बट वी कांट टेक दोज क्वेश्चंस बिकॉज lack of time. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us a very comprehensive talk, and we all participants are benefited from your lecture. Suchi ma'am, would you like to add anything more?
I just want to thank sir that it is such a delightful experience today. Early morning, I feel that I'm totally enlightened in the knowledge system, right from the Indian knowledge system to rising to become an Upadhyay, Acharya, Pandit, Drashta, and then Guru. I think these are my takeaways as a teacher from here, and I'm sure all my colleagues who are here, we will all get together and have more advantage in future to interact more with you as you suggested, and we can all somehow or the other, contribute in some way in whatever lag that we have been talking about. Thank you so much, sir, for obliging us, and aapka bahut bahut.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.